Yo, it's a new day, and it's the conscious way. Yo, it's a new day, a new day. We've got the tools to free your mind. So come on, it's time to shine. Be a new day. We've got the healing that you want. So come on, create your life with a new day.
This is the Space is the Place Network, and you're now listening to A New Day with A New Bay podcast, a podcast about relationships with self, the collective, and spirit, and how we can become a new being or a new being, go beyond us, and have affairs with our side spirit for healing and wellness. I am your host, Khem, Anunnaki.
And I am Lahoma.
And we are A New Bay. So thank you all for taking the time out to support and listen to the show. Much respect and thank you. This is season number 1, episode number 4, part 1, entitled Changing the Narrative of Mystery, hashtag my story, hashtag Corona Rising, hashtag Kanye 2020. All right, so this show is part of the Space is the Place network, so you can find us, find the show on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Just go to the search engine and type in Space is the Place, and Space is spelled S-P-A-S-E. S-P-A-S-E is the place, and you know we should pop up. And once we surpass, this is our goal, once we surpass 1,000 followers and subscribers, we will create our own platform or page on each of the social media networks. So you can go directly to A New Bay or A New Day with A New Bay and, you know, just get our content exclusively. Now, however, we will be creating our own Patreon page coming sooner than expected. So be on the lookout for that. So we'll keep you guys updated. But topics of discussion for today, segment 1, being or becoming a new being or becoming a new being. We're going to talk about Corona Rising and Lahoma's mystery, as well as Corona Rising and Khem Naki's mystery as it relates to our foundation, the Corona Reset, and how we're reframing our story. So we've decided to do things a bit different here on the show. So we're moving in a different direction too of expanding. We're wanting to delve deeper into each one of our topics each show. So instead of doing segment 1, 2, and 3 all in one, we're going to break it down. So today you'll get part 1, next week you'll get part 2, and then part 3 will be exclusive. So moving forward, all of our part 3s, which is dealing with affairs with side spirit, where we give you tools and techniques and things like that related to the topic of discussion, that'll be exclusive on our Patreon page, coming sooner than expected. So today we're going to just delve deep within our own personal experience of becoming a new being or becoming a new being. All right. Also, I wanted to speak on intuition, the Kanye 2020. Now, Lahoma and I, and this is something that I had the experience of doing with the main podcast, where we would plan out or map out our seasons before we do the season, so we would know what we're going to talk about. And then it was funny how things would line up in regards to, like, for instance, like with this Kanye 2020. So I said about 2-3 weeks ago, or probably like three weeks to a month ago, because we've been doing this show. This is number 4, so we've been doing the show for a month. So a month and a half ago, we spoke about this show specifically, and I think this was around the time Kanye was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna put in my bid. And it's funny how this show is happening right when he did his rant last week for his, I guess his, I wanna say it wasn't a official, it was an unofficial campaign speech for his presidential run. And that went viral, and then he was supposed to drop an album last Friday, but he didn't drop it. But it's funny to, like, you plan something out and then how things line up as they will, you know, so it's like intuition in a sense. So, you know, again, I had the experience of, well, I've had the experience of experiencing that with the Meme Podcast and then just be like, oh, this big story breaks. And it's like, we're not doing this just because this happened. Like, we already had the foresight and it just lined up that way. So Kanye 2020. So we're not
intuition.
Right, intuition. So we can go ahead and jump into it. So a new being. So we can start off with Lahoma, the Corona Rising and Lahoma's mystery. So you go ahead and start it off.
So my story begins with really understanding that words have power and the power of changing the story. Previous episodes I talked about being exposed to The Secret and authors like Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life, Wayne Dyer, Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. And so that stuff really helped me to see that a lot of stuff that I had created was based on a story that I was telling. For example, in my family, I was known as the black sheep or the one that got in trouble and all of that stuff. So it was like, blame it on her. Everybody assumes it's her fault anyway. Mm. And so once I really started to see how that was playing out in my life, especially music, because I love R&B. However, a lot of R&B, heartbreak, drama, Mary J. Blige.
Exactly.
Mary J. Blige, but oh girl, she went in back in the day. And so when I made the connection that a lot of my relationships mirrored that music, it was like, oh, I need to switch and sing songs that are about love, being adored, being cherished, appreciated, falling in love versus falling out of love or being cheated on. And so that was the beginning of it. And so fast forward to last fall, around November, December, I was told about a book called The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. And so he talks about acting and thinking in a certain way. And it's like, well, what is a certain way? And it really stuck out to me doing the practice. As I was doing the practice daily and listening to the book, I realized growing up, I was not taught how to think. I was taught what to think. Mm-hmm. And so it really clicked that, one, I needed to continue to shift my consciousness and be diligent about telling a new story, as well as making sure I share that with other people in the community so that we can all come up.
Word up.
So, and so I also came across Neville Goddard, who is another author, and he talks about will and imagination and how, thought is cause. If we think it and we imagine it, that's pretty much all we need to do. Now, there's some other things that go along with that, depending on our background and our history. Because again, when you get into the law of attraction, we're vibrational beings. And so that's another show. I'll put it that way. So I've been really focusing on will and imagination, and the will pretty much deals with thinking and acting in a certain way, making sure that my attention is on what I choose it to be on to create what I choose to create, versus my attention just going wherever, because where attention goes, energy flows. And so one of the things that Neville Goddard and Lyndall, his student, would say is pay attention or pay.
Nice.
Right. When he said it, I was like, pay attention. And it was like, oh, okay. If I don't focus on what I put my attention on, I'm gonna pay for that. And so so I've been spending this time, this quarantine, COVID, stay at home, focusing and really fine tuning what I want to create, because I feel like I have a clean slate. I can pretty much make up anything right about now. And I've made up a few things and I'm really enjoying it. And so I just keep wondering, how much cooler can this get?
Especially if you got a lot of, especially being that we have a lot of time off. It's like it allows you to sit down and explore. So
Right.
I feel you, sister. I feel you.
So let's see. The pandemic or this stay-at-home order it's definitely affected me. I struggled at first. I'm gonna be honest. I struggled when it first happened because it was like, I gotta stay at home. Don't go nowhere. Don't talk to anybody.
Mm.
Now, while the introvert inside of me was excited because I don't be wanting to leave the house anyway. But after a few days of that, and I'm used to being out and about and playing every day with kids, I I struggled with depression. I would say the first 2 to 3 weeks. I didn't realize that it was depression until about 2 to 3 weeks in, and I realized I hadn't left my room, and if I left my room, it was to go to the kitchen to get water, um, possibly food, and then I was pretty much in my room. So thankfully, once I realized what was happening, I made some changes. I started making sure I did daily walks. I spent time in the sun. I put my feet in the grass. I hugged a bunch of trees, like made sure I did spiritual grounding and getting sunshine because, vitamin D, that helps with fighting depression. And I noticed parts of me as I was with myself by myself, like I was really with my thoughts and my patterns. And so I was able to see what was still running and possibly running me. And so that I could be able to say, oh, that's still there. That needs to go. Oh, that's not working for me anymore. I need to release that now too. And so as I did that, then I went through a process of feeling grief because, with death, grief comes. A part of me was dying. And so I was able to be with that, thankfully, because, we're staying at home. I've been able to really be with my feelings and honor where I am and love myself through the process, as well as still be clear on the direction that I'm going and not like get caught up in the black hole of the darkness and the shadow side. So I've been very diligent in monitoring my thoughts and making sure that I affirm the things that I want to create. And one of the things that I created during this time period that I was facing, because prior to COVID, I had set the intention back in like January because I've been in school. And at that time, I was taking 3 classes in a master's program. I don't recommend it. I'm going to say that again.
I remember that.
Don't recommend it. Okay. So I was taking 3 classes and working full-time at the same time. And so I was overwhelmed and I decided I want to be off with pay so that I could just focus on school. So I'm writing in my journal. I'm doing all of my spiritual practices to manifest this desire. And so fast forward to maybe like a week or 2 prior to COVID happening, something happened at work to where they were like, you don't have to come in. We got such and such going on, but we understand we already booked you for this time, so we're still going to pay you for the time. I was like, cool. I manifested exactly what I was talking about. So I took that and I milked it, like vibrationally. It was like, yes, I know I could create this because I just did it.
Right.
Universe, source energy, I would like to be off with pay some more. And so literally the next week is when they did the stay-at-home order. And so they had booked me again. And so, but they had only booked me for 3 days because they didn't really know how long, they were going to need me for the rest of the week. So they paid me for that 3 days. And then I was like, okay, cool. That's cool. And I just kept affirming, I have a lavish, dependable, steady income, consistent with integrity and mutual benefit. I just kept affirming that.
Where's my pen at?
You better write it down. You better write it down because I'm telling you, it worked. It worked. And so, of course, COVID happens and then they talk about unemployment. And so because of the pandemic, I qualified. Now, normally I wouldn't qualify because I'm considered self-employed, the type of work that I do. And I would only qualify if I paid for unemployment insurance. And so I was able to qualify. So I was able to still be off work with pay. So here's the interesting thing that I've learned fast forward now since then, really being with it because other people would ask me, so you going back to work? When you going to go back to work? Because, people's mentality, you supposed to be working. You just going to sit and collect an unemployment check? And it's, here's the deal. I had to really sit with myself and honor the fact that I had set that intention and I created it. And so I deserved to enjoy it without guilt.
Yeah, and that's the difference. You set the intention, whereas a lot of people who are not intentional with it and just milking it, that's a whole different discussion. That's a whole different intent. So it's like you did this months before all this went.
I didn't even know any of this was going to happen. Like I didn't know anything about a COVID virus or anything. So for me, it's not necessarily about even milking it. Mm-hmm. I set the intention to be off with pay. I got it. It doesn't matter how it shows up. It doesn't matter what it looks like. I got it. And I got to be okay with that if I plan to receive what I've asked for, I guess. Which was part of it because I know in the book, The Science of Getting Rich, he talks about taking action. And the point of taking action is putting yourself in the position to receive what you've already asked for. And so part of me taking action was applying for unemployment. Because at first I was like, well, I've never been able to qualify for unemployment because blah, 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 blah. And people around me they said, hey, apply. You don't know until you apply. And I did. And that's when I saw that I actually qualified. So then the other deal that I realized with the whole, just the term unemployment, because people would be like, you still not working? And that made me feel some kind of way because I know I am still working because I have clients that I do sessions with and stuff, in addition to teaching classes. And so that didn't feel authentic and clean to say I'm unemployed because I do make money and I report that income to the state and then they deduct whatever they need to deduct and I keep the rest of whatever. So for me, I felt the call to change that story, to say I'm spending time at home doing the things that I want to do or doing the things that I've always been needing to do or that I've been putting off. Like I've started to change that story because unemployment, I was like, I don't want to keep that vibration going because at the end of the day, I'm building a business. And to say unemployment is continuing that vibration within that business, I guess. Does that make sense?
It's canceling it out across the board.
Right.
Right.
So yeah, I'm just really being with all of it. I have, with this time, it's allowed me to dive deeper into my spiritual practices, and I've gotten a lot of downloads, just a lot of intuitive hits. And it's interesting because a lot of stuff I've been guided to, it's like I get the information after the fact that explains what I'm experiencing, I guess, as far as my day-to-day experiences with astral traveling, feeling like I'm not in my body. Mm-hmm. It feel like, you remember the Jetsons? That's mm-hmm. what it feel like I live in a tree house. I don't know how that works, but in a tree house, because I do feel grounded. I will say I feel grounded, but I'm out there, if that makes sense.
It does. It makes sense, but I'm trying to see the visual. I get it though. I get it.
So yeah.
So you're actually traveling in a treehouse. You're astral traveling, but you're in a treehouse opposed to the Jetson, where they were pretty much in the cities that were up in the air. So you're in a treehouse.
I got one better for you. So what's the Blue People movie? Avatar? Yeah. You know how the island or the land?
It's up in the air.
It was, suspended. It's like that. That's what it feels like. That's the only thing I can equate it to, because I felt grounded as far as the energy of their planet, or their, what do you call that?
I haven't seen it in so long, but I know what you're talking about.
So yeah, I feel grounded. And say that again?
Their habitat.
Yes, sure. That sounds great.
We'll run with that.
So I could feel the energy, like the spiritual energy and the oneness, and I felt all of that. On a daily basis, I've been feeling that. And somewhat like how the guy that was in Avatar, how he would leave and go back to where he was. It's kind of like that, going in between. So I don't know why I didn't think of that in the first place. That's the perfect movie.
Right. I was like, yeah, that's.
Yeah, I'm an avatar, right?
Right.
So whatever. Or this body is an avatar. Correct. So I've gotten a lot of new ideas as far as things to offer, courses, online classes for my business, and just healing circles to be able to get people together, provide healing, provide opportunities to help people create a life that they love. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of freedom that has come with this time period. Like, I feel, give us free. What is that? I'm
right.
Give us free. That made me think, Mama Boni, Mama.
What is that?
That's color purple. That's color purple.
I should know that. I should know that.
Look, I started to say, I'm going to take your black card, but you know how I feel about that.
The word black, and we talked about that.
No, the word black, but it's, how you going to take my card? How you going to take my card?
And that's who you are.
What you say? Right.
Who you are, but that's what you associate with.
Don't get me started.
Yeah, but we had a whole episode on that, and then I think the episode before that, you were talking about identifying with. So it's like, yeah, and then I know offline what you're talking about. So, okay. Now, anything else?
So let's see. Opportunity to create desires. I already talked about that. So yeah, pretty much I'm just focused on spiritual truth and what I want to create. Health, well-being, wealth, a new level of wealth that I haven't experienced before. Taking my work and career to the next level, really understanding understanding my power and what I came here to do now, and moving from that place, as well as relationships. Like my relationships are taking, like, I can't tell you the magic that's happening with like my close circle, family and friends. There's magic happening, lots of intimacy, lots of authentic connection, and I'm just truly grateful. I am truly grateful because I set all this in motion. And here's the beauty. I figured out how to cut the time, because before I would complain because it felt like it was taking so long for stuff to manifest. Not no more.
Okay. If you would like to share, or we'll talk about that offline.
I was gonna say that's segment 3. We can't just.
Oh, okay. Got you. Segment 3. So if y'all want to know what Lahoma's techniques of cutting time to attract what it is that you desire rather quickly than having to wait. Why is it taking 8 years, 20 years to get this? She'll reveal that on part 3 of this show, which will be the week after next. So stay
Now
tuned.
here's a disclaimer. It's work, daily work. So got to be ready.
Oh, I know. You know, we've been through the trenches. You got to put that work in. It don't just come like that. And a lot of people have that mindset that if they just hear your class and write down whatever it is that you say, it's just gonna. And it's a process. Like, it depends on where you at on the spectrum. And I'm not even gonna get into it, the pendulum and all that stuff. So it's like, wherever you are on the spectrum will determine how long it may take. Some may have to do a little bit more work than others. It's all dependent on your energy, where are you vibrating right now. So anything else?
That's pretty much it.
All right. Now,
wait, let me check. Is that it? Oh, so I have reframed quite a bit regarding my life and with the current events and stuff. And so my new story is, instead of, what I used to do for work, I'm a spiritual coach.
okay.
When people ask me what I do, I'm a spiritual coach, or I'm a healer, depending on, because I do a lot of different things. And really honoring, the time that I have now to do all the things that I was too busy to do before. And I really affirm that I have time freedom, because a lot of people, I don't have time. I have time freedom. I have the time freedom to do whatever it is that I want to do, or whatever it is that I need to do. There was something else that I saw recently. So one of the classes that I've been taking, it talked about leisure and how leisure was viewed as time to kill.
Say that one more time.
Leisure, like leisure.
Yeah. I use that. I use that every now and then. Like, I want to move around on my own leisure. But go ahead.
So it's viewed as a time to kill. Like, people don't say leisure in regard to spending time on vacation. They look at it more so, for example, if I'm on vacation, then I need to have another vacation to prepare to go back to work. Or leisure is the time period. Leisure is the time period that we recuperate from work.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense? Because most people are in a job that they don't want to do.
Right.
And so their leisure is spent trying to figure out how to keep things together so that they can keep doing that job.
Makes sense.
So really paying attention to different words, which we talked about on another show, and the usage of the words and whether they feel empowering or disempowering, or whether they feel expansive or restrictive. So.
Gotcha. So when you say leisure, so me getting up in the morning saying, hey, I'll just get to work at 2 today. Is that, and that's due to me being mentally drained and needing the time to, as you said, recuperate. So me having the flexibility, and that's the reason why I've worked myself up to this point in my career as a property manager. It gives me the quote unquote leisure to say, hey, if I feel like getting to work at 11, I can do that. If I feel like going to work at 2, I can do that. Or I'm just gonna work at home today because I'm burnt out, so I'm just gonna work from home. With that fall in alignment with leisure and killing time, as you say.
Okay, so here it is. It says, unfortunately, in our culture, leisure time is often devoted to catching up and getting our battery recharged to return to work, versus viewing leisure as, you know, I'm going on vacation or I'm gonna spend quality time with my family.
Okay. So it's more
Like,
so it should be.
I know part of my leisure has been in the past running errands.
Oh, okay.
So, I just say that because I know that's a family pattern that I've been working to release.
Okay. So that makes sense
Running
because it's like I say, like what I just said, like I want to move on my own leisure. That means like it associates with the time freedom. Like I want to be able to do what I want to do when I want to do it. But it's been put in the construct of work for the most part. So I see how it can mean
Right.
one thing when I say it, but how I'm taking action on it is in the framework or the construct of my job. But it's not really leisure. It's just like I'm just buying time because
Right.
I don't want to. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for mentioning that because now I'm more aware of what I'm doing and, you know, thinking that's leisure, but it's not leisure. It's flexibility. It is flexibility, but not leisure.
Right.
Okay. All right. Now you mentioned also the depression, the first 2 weeks of the pandemic, or I say Corona rising. Let me reframe, Corona rising. And I would assume that that was due to you being uncertain with what was to come, because I know that depression can be associated with that, not knowing what is to come. And you can fall into the depression because you don't know what's going to happen. Things are not looking clear. So you either in the past, pretty much you're in the past for the most part, or worried about the future.
I don't feel like that was the issue with the depression. I felt like the depression was more so not having contact. Yeah, because I'm an introvert, and at the same time, my love language is affection and quality time.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, really, does that make sense to be an introvert? But my love language, my primary love language is affection or physical touch and quality time, which means that involves other people.
Right.
So,
well, it makes sense for me because I'm the same way, but I know what you're saying. Like, does it don't make sense in regards to your introvert, but you wanting the outside or the extrovert type of connection where you're around and socializing and having those connections. Whereas introverts is more to yourself, isolated for the most part, and just wanting to sit back and reflect with yourself.
right.
So
Which I do that all day. At some point, I don't know if you know, everybody has a hug quota, a physical touch quota daily. And so if we become depleted, depression to me is inevitable. And so what I've learned is, okay, if I don't have people to physically touch, then I need to make sure I'm spending time in nature, and I hug as many trees as I can. Or even if I just hug one, I just hug it until I feel my body release whatever it needs to release as far as the chemicals, to ensure that depression is not an issue. So the other deal is my family. We're very tight. We're very close knit. And so not being able to see my family on a regular basis, that was hard. And so we started doing weekly Zooms, like game nights. And that started to help, because it was fun playing, planning the games and stuff. Like, we had a lot of fun putting stuff together to come up with something different to do each week. So that helped out a lot. So yeah, the depression was more so because for me, I wasn't concerned about what was going to happen, just because I knew I had manifested this. So I knew I was manifesting whatever else I wanted as far as being taken care of financially. I knew I was okay as far as my bills and my living expenses. So.
Okay. Be on the lookout for part 3 to get that to get her secrets to how to manifest and wield to you what it is that you desire. So yeah, and also I know that you are working towards, well, you have a spiritual life coach business. You already have it. So go ahead and plug that as well. So be on the lookout for that, to get with Lahoma, to get some counseling, have sessions and things like that to help you one-on-one as well. Boom, boom.
Definitely do the one-on-one coaching.
Right. Throw that in there, because it's very powerful techniques, and I definitely will talk to you offline in regards to, hey, help a brother out. Because when you start talking about time, it didn't trigger me in a negative way. It was more so it brought to mind that that's what I'm fighting against, because I've been having number one, I've been challenged with time. I'll say it that way. I've been challenged with time. Number two, I've been watching a lot of shows, like immersed in shows dealing with time travel. And time travel. I've been watching, what is that show called? Been watching it all weekend. It is called Dark on Netflix, dealing with time travel. And I just finished watching Devs a couple of weeks ago, dealing with quantum computing and time travel. And I just did a show last week for the Spaces of Place, dealing with See You Yesterday, the movie See You Yesterday, produced by Spike Lee and directed by Stephon Bristol, dealing with 2 young melanated high schoolers who were successful at creating or experimenting and creating time travel, a machine that can send them back in time. So time has been like right here in regards to like what I've been immersed in, watching, listening to, and dealing with on a personal level. So when you said, I know how to cut time in half, I'm like, I need to talk to you. So.
You know what?
What's up?
I just had a realization.
What you got?
So remember we were talking about the 6th dimension the other day?
Mm-hmm.
I've been having a physical experience that I just realized could possibly be if I've jumped timelines and something else was going on somewhere else, like on another timeline, that could be what I'm experiencing in my body.
Funny you say that. Funny you say that, because it's like, as I say, for the past year, I'll wake up in like the middle of the night, like it's always around like 2-3 o'clock in the morning. And there was a period I was doing that like every night. And I would have the realization, and like when you wake up, you ain't clouded with all your thoughts. It's like pure thoughts, and you're super receptive in regards to receiving. So I was having these realizations like, based on where I'm at in life and, you know, my goals and what I'm working towards and my vibration, each night when I go to sleep, there are like infinite timelines. And based off of where I am, I will wake up and shift to this timeline. Or if I change this up in regards to like if I'm going through something and I figure out the lesson and have the understanding with that, I won't go to this timeline because I figured it out. So I'll jump to this timeline when I wake up the next morning. So I was having realizations like that, like, timelines. And then that does play into me watching all these shows talking about parallel universes, timeline jumping, time travel, and all of that. So it's just like everything happens for reasons, and it's never just, it just happens. It's nothing, as AZ says, the rapper, nothing is incidental or coincidental.
Nope, it is coincidental. I got something for you. Okay, check this
What you
out.
got? What you got?
So Wayne Dyer, he, I know, right? Wayne Dyer, look, real, what is it, real talk? I can't do it. I'm still working on this alter ego.
Okay, gotcha.
So Wayne Dyer talked about how people say, coincidence, like it was an accident, it just happened to happen. And he said, when you think about angles, like in mathematics, you have a line and another line. And so one line coincides with another line to create this angle, a 90-degree angle.
Mm-hmm.
And so all that is talking about is alignment. At the end of the day, it's talking about alignment. If it's coinciding in mathematics and, for you to get this angle, then, it's the same if the angle's like this.
Right.
It coincides. Or if you flip it, like it still coincides.
Mm-hmm.
And so, meaning it's planned, it's intentional, it's on purpose.
Yeah, let me.
And so to say coincidence, it really is a coincidence versus, you know what I mean? Like people assume that it's the opposite. Does that make sense? Like it's an accident.
Say that one more time. Make sure I caught it. I don't want to be like, yeah.
People use coincidence as if it was on accident when it really is on purpose. Based upon mathematics, if you use it from that perspective, mm-hmm. then it really is on purpose. And so if I say, I want to meet David Banner, and then I see a flyer that says David Banner's going to be in town in February, mm-hmm. that's a coincidence because I set that intention and then it lined up. Versus people be like, oh, that's a coincidence. Like, that just happened. When, yeah, it did happen. On purpose. You still don't get it, do you?
No, I'm because I go into a whole different direction. I go into a whole different direction with that, but we'll talk offline with that in regards to that. We'll table that and we'll come back around to that. But yeah, the time, yeah, it's just been, we'll talk offline in regards to that as well. Because I've been like attracted to the time and then also getting into like astral travel, astral projection and all that, like actually about to start doing that soon. So yeah, so we'll talk offline regarding that. So anything else that you wanted to continue with in regards to your mystery? Okay, so I'll go ahead and jump into mine. Segui into mine. And it's funny how, well, I'll get to that when we talk about the Corona rising. But with my mystery or my story, my foundation, I would always link back to the Master Key System by a book by Charles Haanel and the School of Metaphysics. And then I'll throw in on the back end Integral Philosophy, Ken Wilber's philosophical work dealing with integral philosophy. And it's mostly the shadow work. I can say the shadow work that I was doing in I want to say 2000 and yeah, 2009. So 2009, doing the shadow work through integral philosophy, that helped me to. There's three things that those three different things helped me to create or to build the makeup for who I am today. So, like I said, the shadow work with integral philosophy, the Master Key System book, and the School of Metaphysics, being a student there for 2.5 years. So it helped me to um, pretty much break down how the mind operates, so I can have a better understanding of the different levels of mind, the different levels of mind, the conscious mind, subconscious mind, superconscious mind, how they all operate. Um, and then also it helped me to take more accountability for myself, and then also be more self-sufficient and being a conscious creator. So those are the three things that, like I said, going back to 2009. So as we talked about a minute ago, with doing the work. So doing that shadow work in 2009, I had a switch was flipped in my mind because I was in that victim mindset prior to, and it's like, why I can't get no bread, why I can't get no money, why am I struggling, why am I always getting these $9, $8 an hour jobs, and then I'm working like 5 jobs, and then it's like I'm still broke. I can't get an apartment. I can't get my own car. I'm driving somebody else's car. I'm living with my pops. I'm living with my moms. So I was deep into that way of thinking, asking why, on some, like, oh, you know, this is the conditions that life has, dealt us, being a Black African American male, number one. And then I was heavy on my conspiracy stuff prior to. It was like, oh yeah, the government and yada, yada, yada. So reading, dealing with doing, not reading, doing the shadow work, I started to flip certain situations that I had either gone through or was currently experiencing at that time. And it was like, it's you. It hit me, it just hit me over the head, like, it's you. So it was like one of the main things was like the financial aspect. So at the time, I was mad that I didn't have any bread. And then I was mad at my pops because I was working for my pops. He had his own janitorial service. So I was working for him, cleaning buildings and things like that. And I felt like I wasn't getting what I was supposed to be getting, doing the work that I was doing. But you're only going to get so much being a worker, being a janitor. So it hit me over the head. It was like, okay, all these credit cards you didn't, blew, you didn't spent 5,000 back in the day on one credit card. You never paid that back. Debit cards that went delinquent, like you overdrew, and then you just closed the account and just opened up another one. So I started looking at that, like, how you gonna get mad at the government? How you gonna get mad at your pops? And you ain't even paying back. Somebody gave you money, and you didn't pay them back. So it hit me over the head, like, oh, okay. I see how this works. Now, of course, I didn't just change overnight. It was a process, but that was the aha moment. And then I think I mentioned on a previous show, um, when I was doing the janitorial work with my pops, I was listening to the Master Key System over and over and over and over and over and over and over. So it pressed upon my subconscious mind. So I think that was the main thing that's pretty much stuck with, not just how things work, but also different techniques and things like that. So that set the stage for the School of Metaphysics, to where now, okay, I understand how it works. I just need to have techniques to help me to fine tune these mental faculties so I can be better, do better. So again, the accountability, I started taking more accountability for my actions, and then being more self-sufficient, and then being more of a conscious creator. So again, it took time to where once I got super clear on what I wanted to create, things began to become easier and easier and easier over time. And I say for the past 6 years, being in the property management industry, being, not having to go move with my moms, or not even just moving out of the state, because there was a point in my life where if I ain't like the conditions and I felt helpless, I would just pack my bags and move to a different state. And I lived in Atlanta, I've lived in New York, and so it's like I've been here 11 years. I've been in the apartment industry for 6.5 years. I've been in this apartment for 2 years, and you know, my son has his own space, so creating a space for him, so it's not just about me. So I've been able to level up, and you know, just based off of those key elements in my life, from the Master Key System to integral philosophy to the School of Metaphysics. So with let me see, the accountability aspect, like now it's second nature, to the point where if something happens, I automatically say, okay, how did I create that? How is this reflecting back to me, based on where I'm at mentally, based on what experiences I've been having and reacting to those to create that. So that's number one. So anything that I go through, that's the process mentally. So I've been able to speed up my or accelerate my growth, learning and growth by doing that, because I understand, like, you create everything. You are the creator of your universe for the most part. So to be able to do that, and I'll save some of that for the third part, but to be able to do that has opened up the doors and freed me a great deal from having to repeat a lot of things, number one. Number two, getting trapped in the feeling, the pain, because when you have to keep repeating the same thing, over time, it does put you in a position to where it's like, I give up, depression, physical ailments, diseases, and things like that begin to manifest. So it's like having that perspective, not even that perspective, just being able to respond in that way has helped a great deal. So when the Corona Rising happened this year, I was already in the process of attracting to me, just like with you, like you said that, you know, you set the intention back in January with, you know, getting paid, not working, but still getting paid. So you had already set that intention. So I had a lot of things that I set in motion last November, December, which when the Corona Rising happened, it was like I wasn't affected to the same degree as a lot of our brothers and sisters here in the States, or I just say around the world, or the States more than mostly, because we're pretty much being hit the hardest. But I wasn't as affected. It was just like, okay, I still had to get up and go to work because my job being a property manager, I still had to manage a property, so it didn't stop. Now, at first, I was working from home. There was a schedule to where I was working from home more, but I still had to, you know, get up and go in. But I was cool with that because it's like, okay, boom, I'm still getting paid. I'm still active. And then I started to, well, I'm gonna say I started to see, I was able to attract, which was already set in motion, money that came to me to be able to create, you know, what I have now with Spaces to Place business, with the studio that I have now, upgrading my studio. So it's like money just started coming in, still had my job, the money from selling one of the properties that I was managing, and then, you know, the stimulus, that was unexpected, that came out of nowhere. Then I got a sign-on bonus because we switched to a different property management company. I decided to stay with the property and go with the new management company, and they gave me a sign-on bonus to stay. That was unexpected. I didn't foresee that. And then instead of them transferring my vacation time over to the new company, it's like, hey, we can't do that with this new company, so we're just gonna pay that out. And I had a lot of vacation time that I never used. So that was money that I wasn't expecting as well. So during the Corona Rising, I was seeing way more money than I've ever seen. I had more ease because the office was closed, although I was still working, but I didn't have like people coming in and out of the office. It was like the office was closed, so it was like more quiet. Of course, we was getting a lot of phone calls, but it wasn't the same in regards to the traffic coming in and out, people want to come in there and embark on you and things like that. So it was quiet. So I had a little bit more ease in regards to that. Now, also, some things that I had already set in motion. Last November, I said, I already knew I was going to get the money for the sale of that property. However, I'm like, okay, I don't want to use that money to pay for a certification. I want to get a certification and have somebody else pay for it or get a scholarship. And then lo and behold, the opportunity to get the scholarship presented itself. I'm like, oh, let me apply to that. Did the necessary steps to do that. My regional manager at the time wrote a letter of recommendation for me. I did the application and I submitted my resume. And you know, they had questions on there. Why do you want the Khem certification? What would you do with the scholar? Like, what does the scholarship mean to you? So I did all of that. And out of everybody in Dallas Fort Worth that applied for that, January they had the education conference here in Dallas, where all of the property managers, regionals, vice presidents, owners, and things like that. It was like 800 people at this event in January, and I was awarded at that event with the scholarship. So I got the scholarship. Boom. So I got the scholarship. I worked the virtual Wi-Fi. So I got the scholarship, set that in motion, got it. I've just recently, last month, finished my 40 hours of coursework for that. Again, as I said, I set up the LLC. I said I wanted to get a business started, and all this money that came in allowed me to do that with no hesitation. It was just like, okay, I got the funds, so there's no excuse now. So I got the LLC for Spaces to Place. And again, like I said, I upgraded my studio. So I got everything that I said I wanted last year or the end of last year, all of that came into play. So it was like, I didn't know all this was gonna happen, of course, and then everything played out as it should have, based on my vibration and based on the intentions that I set. So also, with the being that I'm going through some turbulence right now with my job, even back in November of last year, I applied to be a census worker, and I was looking at that as extra money on top of, you know, I knew I was getting the commission check, but I'm like, okay, I want to have some, you know, it's quick money. It's not going to last forever. It's just like 6 to 8 weeks doing the census work. So I applied back in November, and of course the corona rising happened, and then now that I'm going through all this with my job and I'm looking at possibly leaving, the census calls me back in June. And this was at the height of everything happening with my job. And it's like, okay, here comes the census. Like, hey, I know that you applied like 20 years ago here, but are you still looking for a job? Like, yeah, I'm still looking for the part-time. I'm still able to do it. And that came on time, right? So of course I still haven't started yet, but I'm able to look at that as a means to, like, I set this in motion and it happened when it needed to happen. So of course I haven't started yet, but at the same time, I've delayed the process of quitting because I had to work through some stuff personally, because again, this is not the job doing this to me. What am I not doing and how am I creating this has caused me to level up and see things on a higher level, on a different level. And it's caused, like I said, a delay in me losing the job or me quitting and not having a job. So I look at the census as a means of, like, okay, now I can put that in my mind as, like, if once it does take place, I can use that as a means of, like, okay, I can do this full-time instead of part-time and give me time to go look for something else, opposed to feeling like I have to stay where I'm at. So again, knowing how to use the mind and then knowing how to respond to the day-to-day, that has been a great help. So these are some of the things I've gone through since the corona rising. So even with, I'll speak on it very briefly, like even the situation with my son, having to, helping him, look for a job, getting him prepared for adulthood, having, you know, deep conversations with him, with preparing him for that. Because, you know, of course he's seeing things one way, I'm seeing things one way. So it's not like we, you know, like we really going at it, but it's more so like there's disagreements. And it's gotten to the point now to where he's, now he got a job, you know, shout out to my son with getting a job. I think he starts tomorrow. He's with his mother right now, but it helped me to connect with my job, because it was like he mentioned, I think, I'm not sure if I mentioned this on air or not, but my son, oh, I mentioned it on one of my Spaces to Play shows. He was saying that he felt like he wasn't getting the support that he wanted from me. And I had to sit back and be like, that's the same thing that I'm going through at my job, because I feel like I'm not getting the assistance and support that I'm wanting to be able to do my job. And here it is, you know, connecting with my son, and he's saying the same thing. So instead of me saying, what do you mean I'm not giving you no support? I'm there for you, and reacting, I'm like, you're right, I can own up to that. You know, I haven't been as connected with you as I would like to be, as well as how you want me to be. So I can't get mad because, hey, I'm over here asking for this on my job and not getting it. So I can't get mad at them when I'm not doing this for my son. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when you start to see life on that level, it's like you can make the shifts. Like, okay, well, how can I be more supportive and you know, give more assistance at work? And then, you know, me and you've had discussions where I'm like, hey, I don't want to be responsible for, you know, getting into like coaching and things like that, because I don't want to be responsible for people. I don't want to teach no more, you know, so that's me not giving the gift that I have to be able to speak to people and help them in their path. So I'm not giving people assistance and support in that sense, because I'm like, hey, I don't want to take on anybody else's responsibility. So again, this is how you can create situations in your life, just going deeper within yourself and see how you're responding or reacting to life that's creating situations in your life that you're not vibing with. So yeah, so those are some of the things that I've gone through. So with the reframing process, now it's funny that you brought up Avatar. Go ahead.
So, based upon everything that you've manifested over the last, 6 months to a year, was there anything that you manifested that didn't look the way that you thought it was going to look, and you felt some kind of way about it, but you were glad that you manifested it, but it didn't look the way you thought it was going to look?
Good question. Let me think about that for a second. I can say off top, I know I wrote down I wanted to be a more effective and efficient leader in regards to being a property manager, or a more effective and efficient property manager, being specific. I actually wrote that down last year. Now, I do understand that things don't happen the way you want them to happen. Now, in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go get another job and it's gonna be easy. I'm gonna have like a strong team. It's gonna be easy, yada, 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 because I don't have to deal with all this paperwork going into a different type of property instead of the properties that I've been working. But it didn't happen that way. So it's like what I'm going through now, that's another way that I guess we can tie it into the reframing. I'm saying, well, this is what I asked for. You know, yeah, there's a lot of struggles on my property now, not having an assistant manager, having a leasing agent that's not as strong as I need for them to be. So it's like, this is an opportunity for me to dig deeper, to say, how can I influence him more, motivate him more, or who can I get into this assistant manager position quicker, or how could I have influenced and motivated the assistant that was there before she left? So it's like the opportunity for that was there, but I didn't take advantage of it. So it didn't materialize how I wanted to. I thought I was gonna go get me another job, and I ain't got to deal with it. I'm just gonna have a strong team. I can be strong in other areas that I'm not able to give attention to now, being that I have to keep my attention over here. So that's one thing that comes to mind where, you know, I was wanting one thing, but didn't work out, but I do understand why it happened.
Well, and just heads up, Science of Getting Rich, it does address trying to jump from one job to the other. Like when you're just like, I'm done, I don't want to do this anymore. And it walks you through what needs to happen energetically, emotionally, mentally, before you can actually move on to the next thing.
Right. And that's one of the reasons why I've slowed down the process of just jumping like, man, forget the job, I'm out of here. I'll find something better.
You may leave the job, but you gonna take yourself with you.
Gonna be the same thing, right? I already know that. So I've chilled.
A different face.
Right, same problems. So yeah, so it was like, yeah, let me stop trying to jump. Let me learn what I need to learn and then move forward. So with the reframing, I'll wrap it up real quick. With the reframing, even when this first happened, I was like, okay, this is an opportunity. And I'm listening to a lot of brothers and sisters on their podcasts and YouTube channels, you know, speaking of it in a different light, you know, while everybody else was, you know, jumping on the bandwagons like, oh, it's this, oh, it's this. I was like, okay, that's that. Cause I don't even like to use the word conspiracy because it's like, some of the stuff be like,
it's
hey.
overused. It's overused.
Right, it's like, yo, y'all need to do some research because some of this stuff is on point. Like, y'all need to get behind what they show you on mainstream media, and it's like, yo, a lot of this stuff, yo, you do the legwork and research. Like, I've done the research, and I haven't really studied this, but it's like the same formula over and over. But I see like a lot of brothers and sisters getting caught into that frame of thinking, like they're not focused. Like, this is a time to focus on you. Like, yeah, I get it. You know, some people in a bad position to where, you know, they're not getting any money, income's not coming in, but, you know, the unemployment did kick in with that extra bread. If you did have a business, you got the loans awarded, you got awarded the loans and things like that. So this was an opportunity, and I saw it. I was like, oh, this is an opportunity for people to sit down. And it's like everybody was talking that 2020 vision. Back in 2019 New Year's, like, oh yeah, this is gonna be my year, 2020 vision. Oh, we about to see clear. I'm about to level up. I'm like, okay, you know, I'm with y'all. I feel that same energy too. But this happened for you to sit down to see, because a lot of people don't like their jobs. They don't like the career. They don't like their husband or wife. They don't like all these different
They don't like their kids.
That too. Now you're forced to sit with that to really assess, like, okay, is this what I really want? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and it also gives you some time to like, okay, well, I don't want this, so what do I want? Okay, I want this. Okay, how do I start making that happen? So it's like everything stopped for you to take that time to level up. And it's like, we've put in the work. Again, going back to what we talked about at the beginning, we put in the work. So it's like, I'm glad, I'm happy, like, I'm not having to start from scratch right now. And like, boy, because I know what it has taken to get to this point.
Man.
So I'm like, yo.
That's all I'm saying, man.
I'm like, yo, as I tell my son every time we talk and have serious conversations, I'm like, yo, you know where we were 6 months ago? We were sleeping, me and him was sleeping like Michael and JJ in good times on the twin side. We didn't have the pull-out bed. We had the twin size bed. I slept at the foot of the bed. He slept at the head of the bed. I was staying in my mom's house. I was driving a van, 1997 Town and Country van, and I was struggling. I was weighing about 140. I was weighing 100.
You said 6 months ago. That wasn't
6 years ago.
Thank you, because I was like, you've had a black car.
You've been in
your you ain't had no van since I knew you.
Why you over here lying?
I'm just.
Thank you for correcting that. Thank you for catching that.
Making sure.
6 years ago. 6 years
ago.
The
other deal is, if you was doing that 6 months ago, and now you talking about all this, people really gonna be like, "What you doing?"
Yeah, when's show number 3 coming out? I want to hear what you got to say. You really cut your
advertisement.
No, yeah, 6 years ago. And 6 years ago, I was at the School of Metaphysics. in my second year. So I was putting in the work, but I wasn't seeing the results. Going back to what we were talking about earlier, like, yeah, depending on where you at on the spectrum, yeah, you could do some work, but it's like 2 years at the School of Metaphysics. I was like, hey, man, I didn't went through this level. I didn't went through these exercises, and I didn't saw a little increase with my income, but I'm like, I'm still out here struggling. So again, I'm glad that I've gotten to this point in my evolution to where there is ease and I'm not having to, of course, you're always going to be learning and growing, but I'm I'm at a point now where it's like, hey, let me just keep my mindset and focus on what I want moving forward and not get caught up in all these distractions. Like, hey, yeah, okay, yeah, 5G, okay, yeah, this over here, then this over here, then Nick Cannon over here, then Kanye over here, and then Will and Jada over here, and it's like the shortage of food over here, and so it's like, what else? Like economic crash over here. So it's like I don't focus on that. It's
There are
like
distractions.
so yeah, so that's how I've reframed, and then me just saying Corona Rising is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So my new story next 6 months. I'll just throw this real quick. I'm gonna wrap it up. Growth and sustainability with Space is the Place as a business. Consistency with Space is the Place, and a new day with a new bay as shows. As well as leveling up monetarily as well. Enhance my skill set with audio and video production as well as digital marketing, and then being more involved in investing in and collaborating with other people and platforms that are consistent, progressive, and innovative. So that's my brief outlook for the next 6 months, what I'm focusing on and reframing. Like, okay, I've gotten this, so how do I take this up here, up a notch? So yeah, so that's where I'm at.
Word. I
So
see you. I hear you. I agree with you and support your intention with love.
thank
Ashe.
you, sister. Ashe. And likewise, sister, likewise.
Word.
All right, so this concludes today's show. This is season number 1, episode number 4, part 1, entitled Changing the Narrative of Mystery, hashtag my story, hashtag Corona Rising, hashtag Kanye 2020. We'll get into that next part 2. So this show we discussed Corona Rising and Lahoma's narrative, or her mystery, as well as my mystery as it related to our foundation, the Corona Reset, and how we're reframing our story. So join us next week for episode number 4, part 2, entitled Changing the Narrative of Mystery. Again, my hashtag my story, hashtag Corona Rising, hashtag Kanye 2020, where we'll discuss the history and the changing of narratives for our melanated brothers and sisters. And we'll talk more about our brother Kanye West. So
Right.
also check out the Space is the Place podcast, the only podcast that raises your vibration as it relates to alien art, spiritual slang, and electric ego, so that it becomes the new norm, so that you can move strong. All right. So where you can find us, this show is a part of the Space is the Place network. So you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, as well as YouTube. Just go in the search bar and type in Space is the Place. Space is spelled S-P-A-S-E. Again, that's S-P-A-S-E is the place, and we'll pop up. And our goal is, once we surpass 1,000 followers, subscribers, and such that are truly supporting our cause, we will break off and have our own platforms for a new day with a new bay. So you can get to us directly, and be on the lookout for our new Patreon page coming sooner than you think, probably in the next week. We'll have our own Patreon page with our content, as well as to where you can donate and support our cause. All right, so in closing.
Always create a new day with a new bay.
Touche, and never lose faith, because what you say matters. I am Khem, Anunnaki.
I am Lahoma Jaffe.
And we are a new bay. Peace.
Yo, it's a new bay, and it's the conscious way. Yo, it's a new bay, a new Bay. We've got the tools to free your mind. So come on, it's time to shine. Be a new Bay. We've got the healing that you want. So come on, create your life.